I'm back. What up? What up? I'm getting fat and happy. Yeah. PARACONOMY INC. Professor Fun 101. The Perfect Murderer Mustard here to help you guys start your days off. It is 8:45 a.m. February 10th, 2025, and we're here to help disclose some corroboration. We're here to find the facts and get them straight, lay them straight on any of the current events that are happening. That are currently happening on and off the record. So, currently we have little bit of a little dating rendezvous faux pas going on here at PARACONOMY Inc. Where people think we're dating and we're not dating, and people think I'm lying and we're not lying. Everybody just has pills to pop and medicine to take, and they're all just a little too accelerated, as you can see. We all just get a little too accelerated, and then things get too fast because we put too many things in that we thought we would be able to handle, and we just need a little bit of extra help. No problem, PARACONOMY Inc. is here to help you out. Last night we saw a nice, good handful of human beings have some fun with Professor Fun 101. And we were able to bless a few of our great country's highway systems on top of a halftime show with the pervert murderer's favorite mustard and SZA girlfriend on the front stage of the American halftime show for NFL Super Bowl Raptor Bowl. Super Bowl Sunday 59. Chiefs win. Chiefs lose by winning. They're winning the lose. Eagles win the Super Bowl. Chief Keef loses the Super Bowl, and Kendrick Lamar wins. 60 points. Good job, Eagles. All right. Good job, Kendrick Lamar. Good job, Uncle Samuel L. And SZA, oh, I love you. Oh, my mommy, SZA, my alien mommy, SZA, I love you. Love-E, love you. I thank you with the pervert murderer time. Pervert time for pervert burger for Christmas time. Today we're watching the docket here at the Buchanan household to see if there's any Reggie Watson humorous hubris here on the benevolence of our great state's capital and legislative branch of judicial design. Ding, ding, ding. 8:57 a.m. We're finding a verdict on people's lives to be into recognition on what's being checked in and passed in for the Achilles heel of our great country's balance of the bar. This has been the forefront of what has helped provide PARACONOMY Inc. with some of its best information for our customers, all at a convenient prospect of $101 for civilian disclosure and a $505 for a portal ritual, and then a final portaling at $909. We can give you the tools you need and the specific seancing that it could utilize to your best interest along the ties of the bar. This lawyer here in courtroom D54A knows about my likeness on the dark web. I saw him behind the desk. About a year ago when I was getting evicted. Yes, this gentleman here in the gray suit with the long hair I saw this gentleman behind the desk as I was reporting my likeness being surfaced on the dark web used to disclose civilian information about human trafficking here in Michigan. Now this cry for help was not recognized by the court and is not being utilized into the trajectory of discovery and evidence along my casing, and why it has yet to be added into the weight of my case. Excuse me. This is somebody who was supposed to stand up.
Today's the date scheduled for final pretrial. What's your status?
Thank you, Your Honor. At this point in time, the people do not have the necessary witnesses to proceed. We have tried multiple ways of contact, however, we have had none up to this point in time.
Given the prosecution's failure to produce their witnesses, we would be requesting this case be dismissed, Your Honor.
Defense motion to dismiss is granted without prejudice. This pending court tells that means.
So, because they granted a dismissal of the case without haste and no prejudice because of this lawyer. All this lawyer had to do was show up and said, "Hey, I got this taken care of, and because it's the case, you'll give me a yes. I ask for a dismissal, and you'll give me one." This is a case where with a clear-cut disassociation has you over here, somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, and then you right here who knows what they're doing. You're going to be winning by a landslide, so I don't have to think. This is a staging of you being an innocent person and us getting it wrong because you are attached to these people and they pay us really well. So we're staging you to be arrested. This is something that the D54 Court A courtroom 2 with Stacia Buchanan is staged by higher powers, as so Stacy doesn't have to actually look into the intellectual property of what it means, because all you have to do is look at the people in front of you. Which one has the right sauce on who wins these cases, and which one do you put at the people who lose the cases? It's a clear divisive evidence of gerrymandering towards clients who are utilizing the case of evidence work on the keying in on what is mature enough to pass the bar. Seeing as the behavioral stoicisms that are belonging to the virtues being kept along the Magna Carta and what's being utilized on our bar of First Amendment English here on this country's understanding of intellectual claim and inheritance to property and disjuncture. There's also clear divisive sorting of keying towards whatever products that are being placed on. Now here is a biracial clientele work of what is going on in a different case.
We are unable to proceed at this time. We do not have the necessary witnesses to move on. We have attempted contact, however, those efforts have not been successful.
Given the prosecution's failure to produce the necessary witness, Your Honor, we would be requesting this case be dismissed.
Defense motion to dismiss is granted without prejudice.
She keeps dismissing cases without prejudice because of the setup of the lawyers. This is how the system is divided. This is why I was set up with bad-looking lawyers over the good-looking lawyers. And why it's easy for me to be getting placed sideways, so sideways and slanted towards the injustices of what is selective evidence over her word versus mine. This is a huge part of why we're here, is because it was somebody who's been to a mental institution several times, their word against mine. Someone who has not had to go and has sought out their own therapy by accordance. Now that doesn't sound balanced in America, and as we look towards the surfacing of the right justices and accordance on intellectual function to said virtues, it also keys into what is and isn't possible for these people to do legally or comfortably, even. Because at that point, it's infringing upon America's right to plea itself as innocent, motion forwards towards a clear innocence along the lines of any atypical social interactions such as clairvoyancy and telepathy, telekinesis, astral projection, and remote viewing. So, if this is a big part of what's happening with our current standing on our understanding of crystal resonancies, our 5-dimensional headquarters in the dream realm at PARACONOMY Inc. and beyond, and then the many actual keyings towards Paraconomy's third dimensional, 3D and 2-dimensional perception of our 3-dimensional and 4-dimensional realities, ascending upward or triggering off the right keying in society on justice. Now, if that isn't allowing into perspective on your motions forward and dismissal of cases that have divisive dividing, then it makes sense that your articulating of said division is anything more than a cosmetic ploy towards this lifelong venture of your deciding of people's innocence and fate along the lines of who is capable of arrest and why they were arrested, which is something that was not brought into as we doubled down to take this back to court a second time and move forward into a discussion that would open up the keying, which was dismissed as a 5-minute hiya. I don't want to have that. If you wanted to argue with me, the judge, you would have done it at the last court where Cassie was. That's only fair. She didn't show up to the second one. If that isn't showing the world that they don't care at a legislative level, that means that civilian disclosure on any of this has to do with aliens or paranormal phenomenon that measure against the bar would add into the weight of justice and intellectual function for said properties being disclosed. Now, if that required people to continue to exploit this case, adding more weight than it needed to because lies were being used as truth and factual evidence in this country's taxpayer budget of why you are protecting the bank's money and the bank's idea of justice. Why would that endeavor then end up on somebody who cannot afford to pay it off? Unless that's what they want to do. So, by all means, to further out and spread my inspection of any said discovery of what is possible in this state, on this sidewalk, on this property, that I also occupy now as a single-formed human, both metaphysically and now tangible, between the two of tangibility and metaphysics of what is imaginary, essentially, and understanding the function of that imaginary plane of existence and how much space I'm capable of taking up on it via justice system would intellectually claim into the rites of passage in any time stamping and dating that I end up in on procuring any intellectual findings between that court case and this one where there is court case dismissal. That being said, she seems like it's been staged towards her just now filtering through a day of documents where she's able to call the case into recognition of which lawyers here and which lawyers there, making her job much more civilized, easy, less of a hassle to deal with lower level prosecutions, misdemeanors and felonies of any multiplicity, and why that's being used to create displacement against the bar, and why they want to create repeat felons over here at PARACONOMY Inc. And so why we have to buy into crime syndication is because it adds into Stacey's syndication of crime on what displacement looks like on cases with high evidence of dismissal and not being concluded towards the end game of what she's hired there to recognize as the truth between cosmetic disposition on lawyering and or the displacement of any injustice against my will or against my pleading. So again, back to weight. If more weight was added into intellectual function between then and here, of retroactive company activity, and then what also got put in on the bar, looks little more than an accident at this point. They did a good job at staging it. However, it now lands back onto the taxpayers' people, the power of the people. And if we've allowed mob law to grow in accordance to our replacement of truth as the bank's justice and the bank's people, that means that the people have stood on their word, and anything that comes up in conjecture or anything that's perpendicular to the system of accordance that's keeping this path of least resistance on intellectual function within the stoicisms of our bylaws and bystandards, it leads the legislative branch back to the judicial in executive through executive dysfunction, more or less. One of the two sides it has to pick of the one of the three. And if it starts to slide one way or over another, we then have to apply said information towards what receipts we have fiscally and non-fiscally. So if we're adding that into accordance of what they just did and how they do it, whether or not they meant to mess it up, it is written. And as I look towards how often my Miranda rights have been read to me, it's clear as day. This case, I never had my Miranda rights read to me, and a lot of it goes into the intellectual function of the abusive nature that it took to render out my innocence over the Super Bowl halftime that we just witnessed last night, that continues to utilize the likeness of pervert murderer and Professor Fun here at PARACONOMY Inc. Something that happened during a music video of Ben Stiller and SZA on the song Cry Baby or Drive during my birthday, the night of before my birthday, December 24th to December 25th, the passing of my late partner, Kate Vogel, adding into the discovery on weight of this case as a murder that was synchronized on a spectral analyses using both the dark web initiative and some magic on top of whatever I was trying to explain, that there's aliens. And they didn't take me seriously at all over the past 10 years, since at least 2014, since I was living in Chicago and then contemplating the difference and then getting abducted by aliens during a few different samplings of LSD between a few different dealers. And by the time we got to where I was reaching contact alone in the woods at my parents' house, and then again with my parents and a close friend, that if this has been 10 years, at least 10 years, if not more, in the making, that nobody took my side between then and now, it says, why? before it ever accuses anything more than what it needs to, and that's a railroading of my belief system. We can taxably, feasibly write this off as a cosmetic disjuncture towards what is possible in our justice system, in our judicial, um, executive and legislative branches, and why they didn't just cut the fleece loose on the copper that wrote me up as a Mexican for the first, second, and third, fourth, and fifth time. Because it seems like there's this consistency with my last name and my complexion and my cultural aesthetic being looked at more like as a pirate of the high tides and seven seas, like down south, than I ever would be out in Hawaii. So that's the weirdest part about Hawaii, and how I'm repeating its own history by being ostracized and alienated, because many of the culturalistic backgrounds and the cargo culting happening between the Polynesian islands relocating is one of the biggest reasons why that island gets populated, historically speaking. And if it's because you become an undesirable citizen or a shaman, even historically speaking, we are prophetic people, and people with prophets and things like that, they are hated for telling the truth. And the hard truths of reality is that we're not done slaving away for some of our indentured servitude as our manifest destiny, as our clan destiny, as things that like kind of make it into political scoping on why you would justify a murder or raping or beating, whatever it may be. That is adding into the property of function towards the intellect on whether or not you are fully like capable of predicting that much on your safety and the state's, because that's what it really comes down to in a court of law. And it's how we have to move archaically between rock keying, where we're just like holding a bunch of rocks and spying on each other, with sex magic and blood magic and other things that had no real, it didn't have any tenancy here. It didn't belong here. There was a vacant spot for it to exist, and it plopped itself right there, behaviorally speaking and linguistically speaking. And now that's the truth in place of what the facts are being acknowledged as, due to the scapegoating and the amount of money you can only get off of me. People said, because we can't get any money off of you, what we're going to do is get time and people off of you. We've gotten our women out of you. We've gotten the murders out of you that we needed to find to create. There's been mass shootings that have been instated due to the effects of the gerrymandering of my innocence and some of the case working that has laid the foundation for the financing of said mass shootings, which is why we need to be careful and find out which ones mine may or may not have instilled, and why the ones that are being televised over the events that aren't, because it's more than just mass shootings. It's the submarine drowning with the billionaires. It's other things that have happened between then and now. Volcanoes going off, forest fires being lit, island fires, a litany of other consequential plaguing are the backside of a miracle, would instill that, yes, we did receive a financial surplus of miraculous funding thanks to your displacement. So if that's the case, then it seems like the state, through either Michigan or Hawaii, needs to basically, I want it to be Amazon and Disney and like the oligarchs. I want it to be the president, because last night and in the inauguration, I am utilizing this ESP to talk with the President Donald Trump, as we're as I'm becoming a diplomat. Excuse me. and attempting as clear as day anarcho-communist spiritualist shaman. Okay, I'm an anarchist. Hi, how's it going? I flipped to anarcho-communism because somebody told me it was cool on Tumblr, and could explain it the right way, and went to go surf around it and find out that there's a lot of real stuff to it. So yes, sunk my teeth into the pop-up book version of it, 9:19 a.m. and slowly am creating the diplomacy between my rebel behavior and freedom on what is allowed in our system, and that is to grow your own psychedelics, to practice your own shamanism, to dive deeper in your archaic revival. Because if there's a thing or two we're missing about aliens and re-speaking the gift of gab, any Tower of Babel, any type of Dionysus type Grecian women and witchcraft, anything that has to do with the nomadic societies that traveled between Southeast Asia, the Moors and Egypt, and like other parts of like Kazakh and Russia and all these parts in Europe and Stonehenge, then it makes sense that at some point there's full circle in using archaic revival as a ploy into civilian disclosure and what it stands to gain in on access in the way of dispersion towards an upward mobility from now till the forefront of mankind's future and the cutting edge of what this means that this ends. So like that's basically how you rewrite history with the facts, even if you're getting whitewashed out of it. Okay, this is the top end of being able to see what the heck you're looking at when somebody starts echo chambering the right things over the wrong situations. So that way we're not disguising the wrong things as the right things anymore here in America, because that is a clear divisive tactic. And if that's dipping into Freemason, Illuminatic, Machiavellian behaviors, or any Napoleon type dealios with the Egyptians, then it makes sense that what we're looking at in Atlantia and the downscope or the upwards epoch of our empirical society, and creating the dividends and then the bureaucracy to keep track of it, then it makes as clear as a sedative of a day that it makes us train better here on this planet as we further our understanding of our enigmatic 5D and 3D translation and tessellations within our own realities. So as we comb out what's possible and what's not, utilizing people like with prophetic articulation as of mine of a gift of gab to complete seance and equational variables, that we start to include what is outside of us in our own representation of our lane of how much we're able to take in surface area of self-awareness. Because there is an amount of time and space that you will need to have prepared readily and available for both your precinct and post marital basically decision making, your post deal. So once the deal's been signed into office or accordance, that it has the right directionality on it, and it's not just adding too much variable into something for something evil to take its place as less omnidirectional. So if you're looking for the right sourcing of misbehaviors, or to create inertia or friction or a path of least resistance or capacity or whatever it may be today, continue to modulate and manipulate this form of like a metaforming or like a metapod cocooning metamorphosizing thing going on, because our jeweling here, the chrysalising of and the hardening of the cellular modulation could be keying towards evolutionary development and a type 1 civilization in technology and human developmental stages, and forming what we know to be a more civically ergonomic to engineer because we need things to be sleek and facilitating for that type of standard way of form, if that is the case, and the bending of our reality and our history, that we understand that there is a weight to decision making that can bend the bar, right? Okay, so if the bar's bent, we can remend it, we can rebend it. We don't have to completely tear it apart, which is what we did, and it's what we're doing with a lot of information and intellectual property here at Paraconomy. So we need to continue to fight for what we know to be true and what we want to see more of in civilian disclosure, because they will be barring off certain information if we're utilizing it too frivolously, much like we did here. So if we cannot learn from history in society, we're doomed to repeat history in society. So let's make sure that we're not doing anything too frivolously, if it could have been all undone with a conversation or two in the right ways, and we could have done better crime or better manipulation as a whole of people, if we were supposed to be a part of that gartering of what's possible in society and the people's money and the people's movement and what they say to be true, that it may or may not needed to be here, looked at before you decided to cancel. Good old Professor Fun, Alex, whatever, or Kate Vogel, God bless her if she's gone and she's not alive anymore, because that's the reality for me right now, and it's a terrible one to have to face alone, but it's mine alone, and I'm going to move forward in the most polite ways I possibly can in some of these senses, because it's not fair to distract and misjudge people based on their supposed merit in society, fiscally or socially responsible. So if that's what happened and the pro bono is just stacked up against me, a lot of people's hopes and dreams of my downfall are stacked up against me, that it's explained in the civilian disclosure, and people are utilizing it to their best of their capabilities and nothing more, nothing less. So, take from that what you will. Today's civilian disclosure, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up a bit. I hope you guys like my style here. I got a little freaking... I'm rocking the bandanas again. Used to wear this to North Coast. Wore this, I think, the first time I was rolling at Clams Casino. And I'm using it to hold up my abuse glasses that I've had for 15 to 18 years. Trying to settle arguments and help people. So if you need life coaching, I've been through it all, so to speak. Not all of it, but I've been through a lot. Enough for you, I think, to at least give me a second shot here if I gave you a good first run on telling you how to live your life better, and it worked. So, welcome to Paraconomy Inc. I'm Professor Fun 101, and the perfect murderer mustard is on the rise. Everybody, the Super Bowl is still going. Pervert murderer still running for president and as president. With Paraconomy, we got slaves and sex. We got drugs, all the great, and we got syndicated crime. Come get a burger. Paraconomy Inc. Legalize mushrooms, all that, yada yada yada. I'm from Michigan. I'm from Michigan. Go Chiefs. Go Chiefs. Yeah, go Eagles. Go everybody.